Hello there, welcome to the Green Technology, the video session. So in this video lecture, we are trying to see the essential step for control of carbon emissions and accumulations. As we know, the carbon emissions are coming and depositing in the environment in a solid form or maybe in the gaseous form into the every part of this atmosphere. So we need to control this part. Otherwise, we need to face the monumental disorders it's going to be coming into the future. So then the livelihood of the human being is going to be very difficult. So in this connection, the green technology is proposing the few methodologies and a few proposals so that one can follow easily. So here the general philosophy for reducing the accumulation of the carbon emissions. These general philosophies are coming from where the triggering points of these carbon emissions we need to check it. So then we know that the most of the time we are using the fossil fuels, right? The fossil fuels, the best example is the petrol, diesel and wood, and other these are going to be where it's going to be the depletion is going to be taking place. So then what will happen in this case? So these fossil fuels we are using for the different purpose for the domestic applications, and next one is going to be industrial applications also we are using, and the transportation also it is going. So then what will happen? We need to reduce the usage of the fossil fuels so that the emissions will going to be coming, because these are the triggering points generally it is going to be occurring. So what is the alternative? If we are not using the petrol, diesel, then what is the alternative in this case? Suppose in this case we are using the alternative, the sources of energy productions. Suppose, so there is thermal power stations, they are using the huge amount of the coal and they are converting into the heat energy and electrical energy they are developing. But in this case, the huge amount of the coal and the certain amount of the solid as well as the gaseous carbon emissions are going to be coming into the atmosphere. So for this one, they are giving some alternative like solar panels they are using for the generation of electricity, the wind turbines they are using, and hydraulic power plants they are using. So these are the different alternatives are already existed in the market. Only we need to use those things to get it you can reduce the great amount of the carbon emissions in this process. So protect existing sinks and develop the new ones. In this case, what will happen? One of the prime source for the carbon disposal is going to be taking place from the trees. So we need to find out that these existed sinks here in the forest. We should not go for the deforestation, so that if you do this one, then what will happen in this case? The trees are going to be, that means the carbon sinks are going to be the contract. So then develop the new ones. We need to find out the new areas for the development of these green belts, so that we can reduce the carbon emissions. So in this case, that's going to be converting into the oxygen. So adapt to various measures in each country. So in this case, not only from the global level, from each country and individuals, one should have to follow this one. So where we can do this part. First one is going to be at the personal level. We need to change our personal habits. That's we are going to be discussing in this part. The next one, local authority on the city level. Suppose this is the municipality area will come into the picture. The next one, the state or central government level, while the permitting the industries, and they have to care about it. What kind of the fuels they are going to be using for the generation of the electricity, and what kind of manufacturing methods, that's what they need to check it. So next, the commercial and construction and industrial levels. As we know that how the industries are going to be using, because it is the essential things are going to be, we need to regulate it. And the transport level is everybody have this kind of things. And the next one, infrastructure level. So that's we need to check it. That means in infrastructure level, suppose in this case what will happen, we have to use the fuse ventilations rather than using the electrical energy. So then in the daytime it's going to be saved a lot of electrical energy. Then the alternative, the consequences are going to be, we can reduce this part. So individual and local authority level, that we can check it here. So as we know that the careful and economic use of the electricity for domestic and purpose and fuel for the transportation can be expected. So at individual levels, we need to change our the usage of the habits. So in this case, we are using the petrol, diesel. So then we need to use the public transportation rather than going with the personal, so that we can reduce it. So then the local authority of the city level extend the action that may be expected, depends on the administration in places. So the much wider opportunities oftenly prevail for economic if good housekeeping and good city keeping and including the transportation, public advertising or the practice. In this case, what will happen, these authority levels, they have to give a training to the public so that they can use it properly, and proper dustbins they have to use it to throw the wastage materials. And we need to educate the people the different electrical appliances, the usage, so that they are going to be using the less amount of the resources, so that we can reduce the carbon emissions in this process. The next one, the state and central government level, already we do have discussed it regarding this one. So while giving the permission for the any industry, first we need to find out what kind of manufacturing method is that, and how they are going to be generating the resources, and what their corporate responsibility, the corporate responsibility, how they are going to be implementing this. All the points we need to be check it. So if the power sources are going to be there going for the conventionally, we need to promote for the non-conventional side, like biofuels. They can use it for their production of the electricity, or maybe the generation of the heat energy. So the more can be achieved through the public and private partnership. In this case, it's not only the government, we need to involve the private company people, so that they are going to be finding the different strategies and methodologies to get it to reduce the carbon emissions. So the green buildings and green area development schemes can be promoted. Here the green building is not in the green color, it is going to be the environmental friendly buildings are going to be there. That into environmental friendly buildings means that building must be have the solar cells, solar heaters. So then what will happen, rather than depending on the other depletion sources, they are going to be depends on their own. So then we will get it, and the huge amount of the ventilations we have to provide it for the sunlight rather than using the electrical lights, and other things also will comes to the green building. So such a things the government have to concentrate. Next one is the industry level. As we know that the industries, they are going to be different types are going to be existed. So they are going to be steel power plants are there, automobile power plants are there, and other kind of the plastic companies also going to be there. So they are mainly depends on the electric power. So then how they are going to be, suppose you are going to be taking the steel power plants, every steel power plant they are going to be generating their own electricity by their thermal plants. So then what will happen in this case, they have to concentrate for the generating the electricity rather than going with the conventional methods. So in this case we have to concentrate. So then if the product is going to be generating the huge amount of the carbon emissions, so in this case we have to change the raw material qualitatively. So then what will happen in this case, the Indian is going to be importing the coal from the Australia for the quality the coal, so that we can emissions is going to be very less in this part. So next, the transportation is often measured consumer oil. In this case, what will happen, rather than going with these the traditional fuels, they have to concentrate on the electrical vehicles or other transportations they have to consider. So what is the main outcome from this one? The general philosophy for reducing the accumulation of the carbon emissions. So the philosophy already we have seen. So in this philosophy, the triggering points of the carbon emissions we do have identified, so that we can give the huge effort to reduce the carbon emissions. In this case, adaptive measures for each country, individual and local authority level, state and central government level, and industry levels. See, in every part we need to be implement here. So we are doing the series of educational lectures, so to make you to educate. So for more updates, follow my channel.